I guess it was yesterday. He didn't have all his players bat. And there's a rule: all of your players have to come up to bat at some point during the game.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I did not know that. What was the punishment?
I believe it's a 2-game suspension.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Well, it's just for the coach, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I didn't know that was a rule. I don't know anything about Little League Baseball. It's kind of a beating.
Yeah, they don't want just
it's the best people.
The one superhuman guy to come up to bat like every single inning while everyone else doesn't get to play.
Sure. That's probably a good rule to have.
It is. I like that.
Polluted Delta is going to bring Danny likely down to 14. As you saw Jim start off with a Relic of Progenitus to take care of the Scalding Tarn. Going to start attacking Grixis Death Shadow's graveyard. We see this so much from people who play against Grixis Death Shadow, be it Relic or Tormod's Crypt or Nile Spellbomb, Scavenging Ooze, so on and so forth. Attacking their graveyards is going to make Snapcaster Mage worse. It's also going to make Tassiger and Gurmag Angler more difficult to cast, as Danny's going to cycle a Street Wraith.
Yeah, good against the Kolaghan's command as well.
Death Shadows are here early. Couple of 1/1s. I'm sure they're just going to stay 1/1s.
What if we implemented a Little League rule in Magic?
That you have to play with all your cards? Or?
Yeah, well, just, all the creature types need to have a chance to play. For this event this weekend, everyone's got to have a homunculus in their deck.
At least one?
Yep.
At least one?
Got to show up with a homunculus.
Okay.
Next weekend, different creature gets a chance.
Nice. I can get behind this.
Yeah.
You must all have one vampire in your 75.
Well, those Bloodghast players are already...
They're already ahead. Not a big change for them.
Yep.
Not at all. Just found out here that Todd Anderson was able to win his match. I know a lot of people are interested to find out. We go over to Jim.
And this is a spectacular start for Danny here.
There's an Expedition map. Yeah, Danny's start is great, and drawing a Bloodstained Mire's okay. I mean, yes, it's going to obviously grow them, the Death Shadows, and it's going to give him his red mana, but he already had a Polluted Delta in hand.
Sure. No, this is the pressure with, I didn't get a good look at his hand, but if he has just that little bit of disruption that he needs, it could potentially just be 2 attack steps. Attack on turn 3, attack on turn 4. If he can deal himself some more damage next turn and just win the game.
Yeah, Stubborn Denial would be great to have right now, too. He's going to fall down to 9, which means Death Shadows are 4 4s. He's got at least one Stubborn Denial. I think he might have a Thought Scour, too. We'll find out here in just a moment. And he will play a Thought Scour. He'll target himself. So, Delta and Temur Battle Rage, they go away. And Snapcaster Mage comes to play. In for 8.
Thump.
Pretty big hit. Pretty big hit. We're going to go over to Jim. Jim's, that face isn't one of confidence. I'll tell you that much. It's not the best look.
Well, it looks like he's got the Tron.
Yeah, but his hand doesn't have much going on past that.
Sure.
He's got a World Breaker that he can't play.
Yep, that one's a problem.
Yep. He's got another map, which he doesn't really need. Sylvan Scrying, which he doesn't need. He's got an O-Stone he can't blow up.
Yeah, the Oblivion Stone.
No. This hand stinks.
Yeah, just not the right amount of payoff that he would need.
Yeah.
He would need one more turn, which he's not going to get. Or a significant 7-drop that came down right now.
Tower of Powers here. Well, you got to cast something, I would think, here, Jim. You got all this mana.
Yeah, I think the O-Stone is the play.
Even if it gets countered, if he gets another turn, then his next thing would resolve. So I think you got to play something. He's just going to play. He's going to sacrifice this. Not sure what land Jim wants to go grab. We'll find out here in just a moment. He's going to get another Tower of Power. All right. Let's go to Danny J. Ceremonious Rejection is going to make this really easy, along with the Scalding Tarn, which he's going to take the max from.
Yes, please.
Yeah, don't mind if I do ski. Going to fall down to 6. 13 minus 6 is 7. Tacky for 14. That was easy.
That'll do.
Yep. Danny Jessup is going to tie things up here very quickly over Jim Davis. Grixis Death Shadow, Green Black Tron. They're going to get ready for a third one here. A little bit of the problem with the Tron deck there is just Death Shadow is a great clock. Don't have a great way to interact with it, especially in that particular hand. Jim does have Fatal Pushes, which perhaps he'll draw in the next game. But Danny didn't really do much of consequence there and won pretty easily.
Yeah, he just deployed the 2 Death Shadows on turn 2, attacked on turns 3 and 4, and won the game.
Yeah.
I was talking about how the green-black or the green X Tron decks have a lot more consistency for achieving Tron, but they have a lot less in the way of payoff cards.
Yeah.
They just don't have the threat density that like the Eldrazi Tron decks have. So the Eldrazi Tron decks, sure, they get some clunky draw sometimes. They don't have Tron on turn 3. They're still deploying a Matter Reshaper, a Thought Nasir, a Reality Smasher, Walking Ballista. You know, they have cheaper plays that they can play in the early to mid game to kind of bridge them over until they get to the late game and they're more powerful spells.
Yeah, where Jim did not have that game at all, so that was quite clearly a pretty big issue. As you saw his hand at the end of the game, he could play an Oblivion Stone, he couldn't blow it up, couldn't catch the roll break, the rest of the stuff didn't matter.
Yep.
So easy does it, as he's going to do a little bit more sideboarding here. Danny doesn't appear to be going back to the drawing board at all, so we'll get an idea, hopefully, of what Jim is considering here in just a moment. But Grand Prix Washington, D.C. is right around the corner.
Ooh.
Man, you know, the first week of September 1st through the 3rd, that's going to get here pretty quick. I know it doesn't feel like we're almost halfway through August, but we are.
That's crazy.
You know, there's Grand Prix in Denver taking place next weekend, and then there's kind of like a weekend off of Magic, and then boom, DC is going to be here. And we want you to be there, and we'll share some more details about what's going to be an awesome tournament hosted by Star City Games right now.
On September 1st through the 3rd, make plans to be part of Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Washington, D.C. Play in the standard format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and a spot on the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Hour of Devastation playmat. All Friday challenges are also Grand Prix trials. Come out early and compete for buys in the main event and more chances to claim an Hour of Devastation playmat. Prefer 100-card formats? Register for the Ultimate Commander package to play in 4 Commander on-demand events and take home a Commander vs. playmat and Ultimate Guard Boulder deck case. Want to play on Magic's grandest stage? Compete in the Pro Tour qualifier on Sunday and receive a Progenitus foil promo just for playing, plus the chance for an invitation to Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan in Bilbao, Spain. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Washington, D.C.'s many special guests, including cosplayer Christine Sprankle and an artist alley full of fan favorites, headlined by guest of honor Rob Alexander. Be part of Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Washington, D.C. today.
September 1st through the 3rd, Grand Prix Washington, D.C., hosted by Star City Games. We hope to see you guys there. Should be an awesome tournament, awesome tournament as well, and a little standard, which is a format I'm a big fan of right now. So,
standard looks like
zombie.
I don't know. It's evolving so fast.
Zombie.
What you think you could just show up with, you know, last week and would have been great for the event, is going to be vastly different a month from now.
Yeah, you're
or
right.
2 weeks from now, whatever it is.
You're right. It is evolving fast. Guess what I'm going to play?
Approach of the Second Sons.
Goodness, no. You couldn't pay me to play that deck. Zombie.
I probably could pay you to play that deck.
No, I cannot be bought.
No. Oh.
I cannot be bought.
A man with integrity.
You can't pay me to play a deck that has Aether Meltdown and Blessed Alliance in the same deck.
Well, you don't have to.
Can't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it.
You're just hoping the opponent just doesn't realize?
Yeah, can't do it. Won't do it. Sorry. Not going to happen. Jim going to start things off with in Urza's Tower into the Relic of Progenitus for Danny J. It's, of course, a Watery Grave to start, and it is a Serum Visions, his favorite start.
I think that's everyone's favorite start.
When you're playing Death Shadow, it's a darn good start.
Turn 1 Relic is really good against them.
Didn't matter last game.
Well, Jim had 7 mana on turn 3 and nothing to do with
7 mana, go.
Yeah.
Bit of a problem there. There goes the Polluted Delta. Serum Visions will be coming here soon, as Jim will draw a card. Wormcoil Engine, a good one if he can get it to resolve. Relic will take care of the Serum Visions. Jim has a Chromatic Sphere. Now he's got a Blooming Marsh. cash in the sphere. Likely for green mana as he draws a card. Stirrings is a pretty nice draw. And he'll play a Stirrings. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 cards is what Mr. Davis is going to look at. And he's on a Tower of Power, which he doesn't need. But that Urza's Mine doesn't look so bad. And I think there might be a power plant in there too.
Yeah, you got all of the pieces there. It's only going to get to pick one, obviously. But with another Ancient Stirrings, it's possible he finds the last piece of the puzzle next turn. And then he's on board for turn 4 Tron.
And he's not underneath very much pressure just yet, though Jessup has drawn a copy of Thoughtseize to go along with one that's already in his hand. So perhaps he can pick the Tron deck's hand apart as he plays a Blood Crypt untapped. It falls down to 15. Thoughtseize will make it 13. Davis with a Stirrings, a Wormcoil Engine, a Push, a Mine, and a Snow-Covered Forest.
Important to note the snow-covered aspect of that forest.
It's very cold. Stirrings is where I might want to start here from Danny. I think it's the best card in Jim's hand.
Stirrings is definitely a good one to take here. Depending on Danny's hand, he might be thinking about this Wormcoil Engine or even the Fatal Push if he's getting something on the board right here. But I agree with you that the Stirrings is the big payoff card. It's going to help Jim complete the Tron and then open up the rest of the cards that he draws for the rest of the game.
I'm sure Jessup would have loved to have that land be a fetch land perhaps. So he could fall down to 12 and maybe play a Death Shadow this turn. But then again, Fatal Push will take care of that. But then again, Fatal Push is always going to take care of it. So, Stirrings down. Another Thoughtseize? Or is it time for a little Cantrippin? Cantrippin is what Danny J is going to do. So there's a Serum Visions. Draw. Looks like a fetch land. Scry 2. Polluted Delta among those cards. Scalding Tarn was the draw. And he's taking Scry both to the bottom, but he's going to reconsider his hand here a little bit. Excuse me.
Yeah, and I like Danny not casting the second Thoughtseize this turn. After he looked at his hand, he said, all right, Jim's not doing anything threatening or dangerous next turn. I'm just going to have an additional card to look at next turn when I Thoughtseize, and maybe there will be something more important to take then.
It's like sometimes to give your opponent the opportunity to draw into something you want to take.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, there really isn't. A Serum Visions is going to get exiled via Relic. Jim's draw for the turn with another copy of Fatal Push, so Death Shadows are pretty handled on Davis's side. It's the bigger creatures, and Tassiger and Grimmack Angler, that will be difficult, but Jim's got the graveyard kind of under control right now, too. As he's going to play an Urza's Mine and pass the turn back over to Danny. Jessup will draw. Found a Tassiger. Tough one to cast right now. Gonna play a Scalding Tarn. He'll sacrifice that Tarn. Now here's the fun thing. It's so easy here for Danny to actually be able to play Tassiger. And it's on Jim to make sure that he uses the Relic correctly.
Correct. So if Danny starts by cycling the Street Wraith, then Tassiger's just on.
Now what Danny's going to be able to do here is he's going to start off with a Thoughtseize. Actually, he's going to Thought Scour himself, so he's not even going to start with Thoughtseize. And now, this is even worse for Jim, because does Jim make his move now?
Yeah.
Or does he wait? Relic is... What's in his graveyard? Nothing? A Thoughtseize and a land? And that's why sometimes it feels like, Craig, that Relic and Nile Spellbound stuff, it feels like sometimes they're just not very good. Like in a spot like this where you're trying to contain his graveyard to prevent him from playing Tassiger or Grimmack Angler, and it's just not working.
Sure. There is something to be said where Danny potentially could have deployed one of those cards last turn.
Sure.
And was not able to. So there's definitely some value there.
Relic is going to be sacrificed here and move the graveyards, but now Danny's going to gas back up. Thought Scour will resolve. 3 cards back in the graveyard. Draw a card. Picked up a copy of Scalding Tarn. Looks like he can play a Thoughtseize here, which he can. Take a look at Jim's hand. World Breaker, along with Wormcoil Engine, 2 Fatal Pushes, and that super cold snow-covered forest.
Yeah, a little out of place here in Richmond.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. You say, all right, he's never getting to Tron?
I think you got to just take... Well, what are your options here? I think it's just got to be the big creatures, right?
With the way Danny's hand looks right now, yes, it's got to be the big creatures.
Going to cycle a Street Wraith, will Jessup, fall down to 6, draw a card. Oh, another Street Wraith, huh?
Ooh.
Getting a little low. How low will you go?
He's very glutted on Street Wraiths here.
Let's make it 4. Draw a new card. Steam Vents. All right, Tassiger. Pretty all in on this Tassiger, by the way.
And part of the problem with being all in on glutted with all these Street Wraiths. The Death Shadow is not a good payoff card for him. We've said there's 2 Fatal Pushes on the other side.
The problem here for Jim is you take a look at his hand, and it's a bunch of nonsense, truth be told. Against Tassiger, he just picked up a copy of Urza's Mind, doesn't have the power plant to complete the Tron, so he can't play the World Breaker. 2 Fatal Pushes, who cares?
Yep.
And then that snow-covered forest.
Yeah, he's a long way off from casting a spell that's relevant on this board.
Yeah, he's just going to play the Mind past the turn back. So we go back over to Jessup. Jessup can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief as he picks up a copy of Terminate. That's a nice one. Going to come in here for 4.
Yeah, I mean, I said long way off, but he's really just one draw step away from, completing Tron and just deploying World Breaker over and over again.
Well, there's a Relic of Progenitus. Only 1 card right now in Jessup's graveyard. It's that Stubborn Denial. Jim is going to deploy the Relic. And I think if I'm Jim, I got to sacrifice this Relic right away if I can, just because I don't really have anything going on.
Well, even drawing another card for him here, he couldn't play any of the things that he draws.
Very true. Very true.
So
Danny's going to get back a Stubborn Denial from that Tasker activation as he turned over another Stubborn Denial and a Polluted Delta. And now Relic is in. Relic will take care of the Polluted Delta, so there's still a Stubborn Denial in the graveyard. One of the things he could draw, however, is something like a Ancient Stirrings.
Sure,
doesn't have to worry about it from a counter spell.
Yeah, a Sphere or a Star, just getting it on the board right away.
Sylvan Scrying too, complete the Tron. So there are some decent draws, and let's ignore that graveyard now because it doesn't really matter all that much. Davis draws a card, picked up a Swag Tusk.
Ooh, that's a good one here.
That's not bad. He'll play the Snow-Covered Forest. And I kind of look at Thragtusk as a card that can buy him some time. As Jessup will untap and draw a card. Picked up a Thought Scour, did Danny. That might be where he wants to start his turn. But how about beatdowns with Tassiger first? Davis is going to fall down to 12.
Are we going to see a little 5-mana 3/4 this game?
3/4? What are you talking about?
Street Wraith beatdowns.
Ugh. Maybe. Snapcaster Mages, plural, going to go to the graveyard. Jessup will draw a card, and then Death Shadow. Well, that's dead. So,
yeah, don't even bother.
Yeah, we know that. It is kind of funny in the fact that Death Shadow is essentially dead, but if Danny is able to pick up some copies of Stubborn Denial, he can actually protect his Death Shadow. He's already got 1 in his hand.
Yeah, he does have 1 in the hand.
I think it's worth casting.
Yeah, the question is when is it best for each of them to use their mana? So if Danny casts it here, it might be a good use of his resources, but it also might just be allowing Jim to make too good of a use of his resources.
Sure, by being able to Fatal Push now,
yeah,
and then untap and do his thing with Thragtusk. I can see that. Also, if Danny's going to play this Death Shadow, is he going to fight over the Fatal Push?
Yeah, that is also a good question.
Because there are a lot of spells worth countering right now on Jim's side.
Yeah, the answer there is probably no. Until you draw a second Death Shadow that you want to keep on the board, you probably just let your guy get eaten.
Well, he'll pass the turn back. Davis picked up a copy of Ancient Stirrings. That one is, I think, worth countering.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The question is it worth casting? Jim says no. I'm going to go to Thragtusk. That's in. Jim's going to gain 5 life, not 7. Excuse me. It's going to go to 17.
Swag Tusk is better than usual.
Yeah, no kidding.
Look at that bad boy.
5/3 that ran over Standard. Shows up in Modern sometimes in sideboards of Tron decks. Terminate's going to take care of the first half. Beast Token on the way. And it's funny, a Beast Token against the 4/5, not great, but when your opponent's at 4, okay.
Yeah, it's definitely relevant.
Yep.
Gaining the 5 life, it's just huge here. It keeps him, in the game for so much longer.
Pretty big draw there from Danny Jessup. Picked up a copy of Snapcaster Mage, just turned 2 over with a Thought Scour, but was able to fortunately draw another one. Now he's really got to consider his options.
Yeah, does he want to get aggressive here? Just immediately Snapcaster, Terminate, take out the token, and keep the clock on?
He's just going to attack to start. Jim not going to block. He's got some life to work with. So Danny's going to play Death Shadow and simply pass the turn back. And what's tough here from Jim is that he can only play one Fatal Push this turn.
Yeah, he only has one black source. And this is kind of what I was talking about. This is much harder for Jim to use his mana effectively this turn. So Danny holding off on a turn was getting paid off now.
Yeah, pretty smart.
Yeah.
Pretty smart. Things lined up in such a way that he can Stubborn Denial the Fatal Push, and now he can actually go on the offensive with Death Shadow, and then the next Fatal Push can be countered too because Snapcaster Mage plus Stubborn Denial. So Danny waiting, very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Definitely getting paid off for that good decision.
Yeah. Now, Jim drew a Sylvan Scrying, which makes things a little bit interesting here because he does have that Snow Cover Forest in the battlefield, which means he can Scrying plus Push in the same turn.
Yes.
And now it's about which one do I want to play first because I know my opponent has a Stubborn Denial.
Yeah, it's a question of which one does he think is more important to resolve. If he starts with the Sylvan Scrying, I think Danny just has to counter it. He can't just give him Tron.
It does kind of feel that way, doesn't it? Sylvan Scrying. And this is, yeah, this one feels like it's got to be countered. So there's Stubborn Denial. Ooh, a little surprised Jim didn't respond with a Fatal Push there.
Yeah, by letting the Stubborn Denial resolve, it's now in the graveyard for Snapcaster Mage.
Yep.
And I agree.
And now Jim is going to pass and Fatal Push on the upkeep. And now here's Snapcaster Mage on Stubborn Denial. So maybe he wanted this series of events to occur. But this does seem a little strange because now it's very easy for Danny to say, I'm attacking with both these things.
Yeah. Jim's on chump blocking duty on this Death Shadow now.
This is a lethal attack.
Yep.
Yeah, and now Jim's got to block. Yep. So Jim's going to fall down to 9.
Yeah, it really felt like the optimal play that last turn was to, while the Stubborn Denial was on the stack, just cast the push right then.
Yeah, because the likelihood of it resolving is so high, he's already turned over 2 Snapcaster Mages. You've already gone through 2 Stubborn Denials as well. So now I get wanting to tie up your opponent's mana on your own turn, but it just didn't seem like the right time to do that as Chromatic Star is the draw. Looks like Davis might be going towards Ancient Stirrings. He's really got to find this last Tron piece off this. Feels like the only shot that he's got this game now.
Well, even that.
Well, the only reason it's possible is because of the star that he drew.
Yes.
He can push plus World Breaker in the same turn. But it looks like the top 5 cards unkind here for Jim Davis as theirs and theirs is mine, a Chromatic Sphere, a Relic of Progenitus, an Expedition Map, and an Ancient Stirrings. And that's not the missing Tron piece, Craig.
That is not the missing Tron piece. Even if he was able to play World Breaker this turn, that thing would be on chump block duty against this giant Death Shadow.
Yep. Now, if he had found the missing Tron piece, we would have been able to have seen something kind of cool where he gets to play, the World Breaker plus Fatal Push in the same turn. Not sure it would have led to a win or not. Maybe would have made things at least more difficult for Jessup. But now Jim's got to get some series of cards that I can't even think of right now to be able to keep himself into this game. And it looks like he's going to go to Relic. And the more that he uses the Tron pieces, the less mana overall he's going to have access to in the turn. Yeah,
well, I think he's saying I got to push this Death Shadow, hope that resolves, and then make an impactful play the next turn.
So here's your Relic activation. Jessup not sure if he wants to lose his graveyard just yet. Remember, he's got a Street Wraith in hand, which isn't great right now. He will sacrifice a land. There's a basic island as he falls down to 3. Can cycle Street Wraith and fall down to 1, though it is, again, worth noting that 1 means that he wouldn't be able to cast something like a Thoughtseize. So I think that's part of the reason we haven't seen him sacrifice this just yet. There's Snapcaster Mage, going to target Thought Scour, and now Danny is going to Thought Scour maybe Jim here.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter who he targets. Obviously, all the cards are getting removed. Danny just wants to get another threat on the board and draw the card from the Thought Scour.
Yep, so there goes Sylvan Scryings for Jim, and now Jim will draw a card. He picked up a copy of Wormcoil Engine. I would Fatal Push this now if I were Jim.
Now's the time.
While your opponent is tapped out, I would kill the Death Shadow. This is a star. He'll sacrifice the star, draw a card. Fatal Push will take care of that, and Davis is going to fall down to 1 this turn. At the very least, Jessup could close it out with a certain draw step. Bloodstain Mire ain't it. Gets you down to 1.
Are we going to see it?
What's that?
Well, 5 mana 3/4.
Ugh.
I love it when cards like that, you know, Simian Spirit Guide just has to go beat downs.
I think you just want, oh man. I think you just want to keep it. I don't think you want to cycle the Street Wraith here. I don't think you want to cast it, excuse me.
Sure, the last card might be important for you to draw at some point.
Yeah. Well, forget I said that. Slam it down. And pass the turn back, most importantly. Now, it's interesting, right? Because this does beat Wormcoil Engine. Jim will draw. He drew an O-Stone. That was the card that Danny had to be a little scared of, was Tron Piece plus O-Stone, blowing up everything. And now Jim's got to get... Okay, actually, O-Stone's an awesome draw, because if he just peels the missing Tron piece, he gets to O-Stone everything. So O-Stone's actually still a really good draw. I think you're going to want to float green in case you hit a Stirrings.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going back to my Tron playing days now and trying to maximize how lucky you can get. So
many redraws with this deck.
Yep. Any power plants? What is that?
Karn.
No, that's going to do it. Danny Jessup's going to win this match over Jim Davis 2-1. Grixis Death Shadow going to take care of Green-Black Tron. And for Danny Jessup, it's another great start here with Grixis Death Shadow. You said that Danny said, I'm not putting this deck down until they make me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something along the lines of, they're going to have to pry this out of my hands.
Yeah, well, they haven't done it yet.